The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Ho stepped onto Station 7 for the first time. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, like it had been scrubbed of everything natural. Bright lights hung from the high ceiling, and thousands of beings from dozens of species walked through the massive arrival hall. Ho kept his head down and walked forward. He carried only one bag. Everything he owned fit inside it. He was 24 years old. He had short black hair, a thin scar above his left eyebrow, and eyes that looked tired. He wore simple clothes, a gray jacket, dark pants, worn boots. Nothing special. Nothing that would make anyone look twice at him. That was exactly what he wanted. The Galactic Academy was one of the most famous schools in the known universe. Students came from hundreds of worlds to study here. Most of them came from what the galaxy called Garden World's planets with gentle weather, soft ground, and no natural dangers. These species had evolved in peace. They had never needed to fight to survive. Humans were different. Earth was classified as a Class 12. The gravity was heavy. The weather was violent. The planet was filled with predators, poisons, diseases, and disasters. Everything on Earth had evolved to survive, and that included humans. Most aliens feared humans. Some hated them. Very few understood them. Ho found his room in the student housing block. It was small, just a bed, a desk, a window that looked out at the stars. He set his bag down and sat on the bed. The mattress was soft, too soft. He would sleep on the floor tonight. Old habits died hard. He closed his eyes and took a slow breath. He was here to study xenobiology. He was here to learn about alien life forms, to understand the creatures of the universe, to build something new. He was not here to fight. He was not here to kill. He was done with all of that. The first few weeks passed quietly. Ho went to his classes, took notes, and returned to his room. He did not talk to other students unless he had to. He ate alone in the corner of the cafeteria, always with his back against the wall, always facing the door. The other students noticed him, of course. Humans were rare at the academy. Most species kept their distance, watching him with nervous eyes. They had heard stories about humans, about their strength, their endurance, their capacity for violence. They expected him to be dangerous. But Ho did not look dangerous. He looked small. He looked tired. He flinched when loud noises echoed through the halls. He avoided crowds. He never raised his voice. Some students started to whisper that maybe the stories about humans were exaggerated. Maybe this one was broken. Maybe he was weak. Ho heard the whispers. He did not care. Let them think whatever they wanted. One morning, a young woman sat down across from him in the cafeteria. She had long, dark hair, bright eyes, and a warm smile. She was human. "You're the new transfer, right?" she said. "I'm Lee Sora. I got here last semester." Ho looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "Ho. I know, everyone knows. You're the only other human here," she laughed softly. "It gets lonely, doesn't it, being the only one of your kind?" Ho did not answer right away. He was not used to casual conversation anymore. "It's fine," he said finally. Sora tilted her head. "You don't talk much, do you?" "No." "That's okay. I talk enough for both of us." She grinned and started telling him about her classes, her professors, the strange foods in the cafeteria, the best places to study on the station. Ho listened quietly. He found that he did not mind her company. Over the following days, Sora kept appearing. She sat with him at meals. She walked with him between classes. She did not ask about his past, and he was grateful for that. One afternoon, she warned him about something important. "There's a group you need to avoid," she said, her voice low. "And his friends. His father is some big trade lord in the Helix Consortium, thinks he owns this station. He and his gang like to bully anyone they think is beneath them." Ho glanced across the cafeteria. He saw a tall alien with pale blue skin and cold eyes sitting at a table surrounded by large, muscular beings. The scaled warriors from a garden world, strong but untested by real hardship. They've targeted humans before, Sora continued. 2 human students left the academy last year because of them. The administration won't do anything. Family has too much money. Ho looked back at his food. I'll stay out of their way. Good, just keep your head down and... A loud crash interrupted her. Across the cafeteria had knocked a tray from the hands of a small, furry alien student. The creature scrambled to pick up the spilled food while and his friends laughed. Pathetic, said loudly, his voice carrying across the room. Why do they even let such weak species into this academy? Nobody moved to help. Nobody said a word. Ho watched in silence. His hands were still under the table. Sora noticed that his fingers had curled into fists. Ho, she said softly. He relaxed his hands and looked away. It's nothing. That night Ho lay on the floor of his room and stared at the ceiling. Memories came to him in the darkness as they always did. The burning sky of 442B, the screams of his squad mates, the feeling of blood on his hands. He had done terrible things to survive. He had done necessary things. And when it was over, when the wars ended and the medals were given, he had walked away. He had buried that version of himself as deep as he could. He came to this academy to become someone new, someone who studied life instead of ending it. But as he closed his eyes, he heard his voice echoing in his mind. He saw the fear in that small alien's eyes, and somewhere deep inside him, something cold and patient stirred in its sleep. Across the station, in a private lounge reserved for wealthy students, poured himself a drink and smiled at his friends. Did you see the new human, he said, the quiet one? One of them nodded. He looks afraid of his own shadow. Laughed, another human, let's see how long this one lasts. He raised his glass and his friends cheered. The harassment started small. Ho returned to his room one evening and found his notes torn into pieces. Days of careful work, scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, his face showing nothing. Then he knelt down and began gathering the pieces. He did not report it. There was no point. He knew who had done it, and he knew nothing would happen to them. The next week, someone spread rumors that Ho had cheated on his exams. The professors investigated and found nothing, but the whispers followed him through the halls. Other students avoided him even more than before. Then someone left a dead animal in his bag, a small creature from some distant world, its neck broken. A message. Sora was furious when she found out. This is insane. We have to tell someone. It won't help, Ho said quietly. He was cleaning his bag in the washroom, his movements slow and careful. How can you be so calm about this? He did not answer. He had seen worse things than a dead animal. He had done worse things. This was nothing. Wanted a reaction. Ho refused to give him one. But was not patient. He was used to getting what he wanted, and this quiet human's refusal to break was making him angry. Each day, the harassment grew worse. Ho's belongings were stolen. He was shoved in hallways. Warriors blocked his path and made him walk around them. Through all of it, Ho said nothing. He did nothing. He kept his head down and continued his studies. The other students watched and whispered. Some felt sorry for him. Most thought he was a coward. Sora stayed by his side. She was the only one who noticed the small things, the way his eyes tracked every movement in a room, the way he positioned himself near exits, the way his breathing stayed perfectly controlled even when gangs surrounded him. You're not afraid of them, are you? She asked one night as they studied together in the library. Ho looked up from his textbook. What makes you say that? I don't know, there's something different about you, something you're not telling me. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, some things are better left in the past. Sora wanted to ask more, but something in his eyes made her stop. There was a depth there, a darkness, that she did not understand. 2 weeks later, everything changed. It happened in the East Corridor. near the maintenance section where few students went. Ho was in his room, reviewing notes for an upcoming exam, when he heard a scream. It was distant, muffled by walls and doors, but he recognized the voice immediately. Sora. He was on his feet before he realized he had moved. His body was already responding, muscles tensing, senses sharpening. The part of him he had tried so hard to bury was waking up. He moved through the corridors quickly and quietly. His footsteps made no sound. His breathing was controlled. He did not run. Running attracted attention. But he walked faster than most people could sprint. The screams led him to a maintenance corridor, a narrow passage lined with pipes and cables. The lights flickered overhead. He heard voices, laughing. "Stupid human girl, you think you can talk back too? Please let me go." "Shut up, you need to learn your place." Ho stopped at the corner and looked around it. 4 warriors stood in the corridor. They were huge, nearly 7 feet tall, covered in thick green scales with claws that could tear through metal. In their home world, they were considered elite fighters. Sora was on the ground between them. Her lip was bleeding. Her eyes were wide with fear. Behind leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, watched with a smile on his face. "Maybe we should break something," one of them said. "A finger, an arm, that will teach her to respect her betters." Sora tried to crawl away, but another grabbed her hair and pulled her back. She cried out in pain. Ho felt something shift inside him. For 5 years, he had served in the United Earth Defense Corps. He had fought on 3 frontier worlds where the very air could kill you. He had watched friends die. He had killed things that would haunt the nightmares of every species in this corridor. He had buried that life. He had tried to forget. He had wanted to be normal again. But some things could not be forgotten. Some skills did not fade, and some instincts could not be suppressed. The thought they were predators. They had never met a real one. Ho stepped into the corridor. His hands were steady. His heartbeat was slow. For the first time in months, the trembling that had plagued him since he left the service was completely gone. They turned to look at him. They laughed. "Look at this," one of them said. "The coward came to save his friend." "Go away, human," another growled, "unless you want to join her." Pushed himself off the wall, grinning. "Oh, this is perfect. I was hoping you would show up. Now I can deal with both of you at once." Ho did not respond. He walked forward slowly, his eyes moving between the 4 warriors, calculating distances, identifying weak points. His body remembered the training even if his mind had tried to forget. "What's wrong?" taunted, too scared to speak. Sora looked up at him through tear-filled eyes. "Ho, run, there's too many of them." He stopped a few meters from the group, the towered over him. They were bigger, stronger, and there were 4 of them. They thought these things mattered. Ho looked at. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and flat. "Let her go." "Laughed or what?" Ho did not answer. He simply waited. One of them stepped forward, raising a clawed hand. "I'm going to enjoy this." Ho moved. To Sora, it looked like a blur. One moment there was reaching for Ho. The next moment the warrior was on the ground, screaming, his arm bent at an impossible angle. The other 3 stared in shock. They had not even seen what happened. Ho stood in the same spot, his expression unchanged. He looked at the remaining warriors and spoke 2 words. "Last chance." They did not take it. They attacked. Sora pressed herself against the wall and watched something she would never forget. The quiet, timid student she had befriended was gone. In his place was something else, something fast, precise, and utterly without mercy. And for the first time, she understood that she had never really known Ho at all. The first swung his clawed hand in a wide arc, aiming to tear Ho's head from his shoulders. It was a powerful strike, fast by Garden World standards, backed by muscles that could crush stone. Ho was not there when it landed. He had already moved, stepping inside the warrior's reach, too close for claws to be effective. His palm struck the throat with surgical precision. The alien's eyes went wide as his windpipe compressed. He stumbled backward, gasping for air. The second roared and charged. He was the largest of the group, nearly 8 feet tall, covered in battle scars. He grabbed for Ho with both hands, trying to crush him in a bear hug. Ho dropped low, letting the massive arms pass over his head. He drove his elbow into the knee joint, a spot where the scales were thinner, where the tendons were exposed. There was a wet cracking sound. The warrior screamed and fell. 3 seconds had passed, 2 were down. The remaining 2 warriors hesitated. They had trained in combat academies on their home world. They had won tournaments and earned honors. They had believed themselves to be fighters. Now they understood the difference between sport and survival. Ho did not give them time to think. He moved forward, closing the distance before they could react. His movements were efficient, brutal, and completely without hesitation. He struck nerve clusters that most species did not even know existed. He targeted joints, pressure points, the vulnerable spaces between armored scales. The third managed to land a blow. His fist connected with Ho's shoulder, sending him stumbling back. On a garden world species, that punch would have shattered bones. Ho absorbed the impact, rolled with it, and came back up already striking. His hand found the soft tissue under the jaw. The warrior's eyes rolled back and he collapsed. The fourth turned and tried to run. Ho caught his ankle with a sweeping kick. The warrior crashed to the ground, and before he could rise, Ho was on him, applying a joint lock that threatened to tear his arm from its socket. "Stay down," Ho said. His voice was calm, almost gentle. The whimpered and stopped struggling. 8 seconds, 4 warriors defeated. Ho had not even broken a sweat. He stood slowly and turned to face. The young trade lord's smile was gone. His pale blue face had turned even paler. He backed away until he hit the wall, his eyes wide with a fear he had never experienced before. "What are you?" he stammered. Ho walked toward him. Each step was slow and deliberate. "I'm a student. I came here to learn. I wanted to be left alone." "Stay back. Do you know who my father is? Do you know what he'll do to you?" Ho kept walking. "Your father isn't here." Tried to run. He pushed off the wall and sprinted for the corridor exit, his long legs carrying him fast. He made it 3 steps. Ho caught him by the back of his collar and slammed him against the wall. His hand closed around his throat, not hard enough to choke, but hard enough to hold him in place. Up close could see Ho's eyes clearly. They were dark and empty, like looking into the void of space. There was no anger in them, no hatred, just cold, absolute focus. It was the look of someone who had killed before and would not hesitate to do so again. "Please," whispered, "please don't kill me." "I don't want to kill you," Ho said quietly. "I'm tired of killing. I came here to get away from it, to study, to find peace. Do you understand?" Nodded frantically. "But you made that difficult. You hurt my friend. You hurt innocent people. You thought you were a predator." Ho leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I've killed things worse than you, on worlds where the air burned your lungs, where the ground tried to swallow you whole, where every single day was a fight to survive." He released his throat but grabbed the front of his shirt, keeping him pressed against the wall. "I watched my squad die on 442B. 12 good people, torn apart by creatures that felt no pain and knew no fear. I held the line alone for 36 hours until extraction came. Do you know what that does to a person?" Shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "It breaks you," Ho said, "and then it rebuilds you into something else, something harder, something that can survive anything." He released and stepped back. "You are nothing. Your money is nothing. Your family is nothing. You have never faced anything real in your entire life." Slid down the wall, his legs unable to support him. He curled into a ball and sobbed. Ho turned away from him and walked to where Sora sat against the wall. She was staring at him with wide eyes, her face pale. He knelt beside her. "Are you hurt?" No, I mean just my lip, but—" She looked at the groaning scattered across the corridor, then back at him. "Ho, what? Who are you?" The emptiness in his eyes faded. Something human returned, something tired and sad and broken. "I was a soldier," he said quietly. "United Earth Defense Corps, 5 years on frontier worlds. I retired because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be that person anymore." "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked at his hands. They were trembling again. "Because I wanted to forget. I wanted to be someone else. Someone who studies life instead of taking it." Sora reached out and took his shaking hands in hers. "You saved me. Whatever you were, whatever you did, you saved me." Ho did not respond. He just stared at their joined hands, and for a moment his expression cracked. All the pain he had buried, all the memories he had tried to suppress, rose to the surface. But he did not cry. He had forgotten how. In the distance they heard footsteps. Station security, probably alerted by the noise. Ho stood and helped Sora to her feet. "We should go," he said. She nodded, but she did not let go of his hand. Behind them remained curled against the wall, broken in a way that had nothing to do with physical injuries. His pride, his confidence, his belief in his own power, all of it had been shattered in less than a minute. He had thought humans were weak, because this one had been quiet. He had not understood that some people were quiet, because they had already seen enough violence to last a lifetime. As Ho and Sora walked away, made a silent promise to himself. He would make the human pay. His father had resources, connections, power beyond anything this station had ever seen. He would destroy Ho, no matter the cost. He did not realize that he was about to wake up something far worse than a single veteran. The message reached Trade Lord within hours. His son, the heir to one of the largest trading empires in the galaxy, had been humiliated by a human student. 4 bodyguards defeated in seconds, left crying on the floor of a maintenance corridor. The story was spreading. Other students had seen the aftermath. They were talking, whispering, sharing the tale across the station's networks. Soon it would reach other stations, other worlds. Trade Lord sat in his private office on the consortium's capital ship and felt something he had not experienced in decades: fury. He was a powerful man. He controlled shipping lanes across 3 sectors. Politicians begged for his favor. Entire planets depended on his trade routes. No one challenged him. No one embarrassed his family. And now some nameless human had done both. He opened a secure channel and contacted the company. There were mercenaries, professional killers who worked for whoever paid the most. They had no loyalty, no morals, and no failures on their record. They were expensive, but Trade Lord had more money than most planetary governments. "I want him taken," said. "Alive, if possible. I want to make an example of him." The commander nodded. "Consider it done." 2 days later, 6 operatives arrived on Station 7. They came separately, using false identities, blending in with the thousands of beings who passed through the station daily. They were equipped with the best weapons money could buy: stun batons, neural disruptors, restraint systems designed to hold species far stronger than humans. They studied their target carefully. Ho, 24 years old, xenobiology student, no criminal record, no known combat training. The Academy's records said nothing about military service. Whatever Ho had done before arriving at the station had been classified, buried so deep that even the information networks could not find it. It did not matter. He was one human. They were 6 professional killers. They struck at night. Ho was in his room, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. He had not slept well since the incident in the corridor. The old dreams were coming back: fire, blood, the screams of dying friends. He kept his eyes closed and focused on his breathing, trying to find calm. He heard them coming 30 seconds before they arrived. It was small things, a footstep that was too quiet, a shadow that moved wrong outside his window, the faint electronic hum of a neural disruptor charging. Most people would have noticed nothing. Ho was not most people. He stood slowly and moved to the center of the room. He had no weapons. He had given them up when he left the service, promising himself he would never need them again. That promise was about to be broken. The door exploded inward. 3 came through the doorway in a tactical formation, one high, one low, one covering. They were fast, professional, moving with the precision of beings who had done this 1,000 times. Ho was already moving. He grabbed the first operative's weapon arm and twisted, using the mercenary's momentum against him. The neural disruptor fired into the second operative's chest, dropping him instantly. Ho continued the motion, spinning the first operative into the third, sending them both crashing into the wall. The window shattered behind him. 2 more came through, firing stun batons that crackled with electricity. Ho ducked under the first strike and drove his palm into the attacker's solar plexus. Even through body armor, the impact was devastating. The operative doubled over, and Ho used him as a shield against the second attacker's weapon. 4 down, 2 to go. The remaining operative in the doorway had recovered. He pulled a blade, a molecular edge weapon that could cut through starship hulls. He was fast, skilled, clearly the team's close combat specialist. They fought in the small room, moving between furniture and fallen bodies. The operative was good. He had clearly trained for years, fought in dozens of engagements, killed more targets than he could count. But Ho had been forged in hell. The fight lasted 11 seconds. It ended with the operative on the ground, his arm broken in 2 places, his blade embedded in the wall. Ho turned to face the final attacker. The 6 stood in the shattered window frame, watching. He had not joined the fight. He had been waiting, observing, looking for weakness. He found none. "Who are you?" the mercenary asked. His voice was calm, professional. "You're not in any database, no training records, no service history, nothing." Ho wiped blood from a cut on his forehead. "I'm nobody, just a student." "Students don't fight like that." "This one does." The mercenary studied him for a long moment. Then he holstered his weapon and raised his hands. "I yield. The contract isn't worth dying for." Ho nodded, smart. Station security arrived 12 minutes later. They found 5 unconscious mercenaries, one with a broken arm, and a young human student sitting calmly in the middle of the wreckage. He was bleeding from minor cuts, but otherwise unharmed. The story spread even faster than the first one. A human student, alone, unarmed, had defeated 6 mercenaries, the most feared killers for hire in the sector, the ones with a perfect record. The record was no longer perfect. Within hours, the news had reached every corner of the station. Within days, it had spread across the sector. People who had never heard of Ho were suddenly talking about him. In her office on Earth's orbital defense platform, Commander received an emergency transmission. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. She had served in the Defense Corps for 30 years. She read the report twice, then leaned back in her chair and smiled. "Ho," she said quietly, "I should have known." She had been his commanding officer during the worst years of the frontier wars. She had watched him grow from a scared recruit into one of the most effective soldiers she had ever seen. She had been there when he broke down after 442B. She had signed his discharge papers and wished him well. Now someone had been foolish enough to attack him. She opened a new file and began typing a request for emergency deployment. If Trade Lord wanted a war with one of her people, he was going to get more than he bargained for. Far across the galaxy, Trade Lord received the news about his mercenaries. His fury turned cold. This was no longer about embarrassment or revenge. This was about power, about showing the galaxy that no one the consortium. He began making calls to his allies, his political contacts, his network of corrupt officials. He would destroy this human through legal means if violence had failed. He would have him arrested, expelled, deported. He would ruin him completely. He did not know that classified files were already being unsealed. He did not know that Earth's diplomatic corps was already mobilizing. He did not know that by attacking Ho, he had made an enemy of people far more dangerous than one veteran. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you threatened a child of Earth. Trade Lord's personal shuttle arrived at Station 7 with an escort of 12 ships. He strode through the arrival hall like a conquering general, surrounded by lawyers, advisors, and a new team of bodyguards. His face was a mask of cold anger. He went directly to the Academy's administration office and demanded a meeting with the Chancellor. "I want the human arrested," said, slamming his hand on the Chancellor's desk. "He assaulted my son. He attacked licensed security contractors. He is a dangerous criminal and I want him in chains." The Chancellor, a thin being named Wrist, trembled under the Trade Lord's gaze. "Of course, Lord, we will begin proceedings immediately." "You will do no such thing." The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned to see a human woman enter the room. She was tall, with short gray hair and a military uniform covered in medals. Behind her stood 4 soldiers in the black armor of Earth's Defense Corps. Trade Lord's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "Commander, United Earth Diplomatic Security Division." She walked forward and placed a data pad on the Chancellor's desk. "I'm here to ensure that proper procedures are followed in this matter. This is none of Earth's concern. This is an internal Academy matter. It became Earth's concern when you hired mercenaries to attack one of our citizens." His voice was calm but hard. "Company is classified as a terrorist organization by the Galactic Council. Hearing them is a serious crime, Lord, one that carries significant penalties." His face went pale, then red with anger. "You have no proof." "We have extensive proof," smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The surviving mercenaries were quite willing to talk once they understood their situation. "We have recordings, financial transactions, and sworn testimony linking you directly to the attack." The room went silent. Lawyers exchanged nervous glances. Continued, "Furthermore, we have evidence of your son's activities at this academy. Assault, harassment, destruction of property, intimidation of students and faculty. The list is quite long." "Those are lies." "They are documented facts." Pulled up another file on the data pad. "We also have records showing that you have bribed Academy officials to ignore your son's behavior. Chancellor Wrist, I believe you received a significant donation last year." The Chancellor made a sound like a dying insect. Stood frozen. His empire, his power, his untouchable position, all of it was crumbling around him. He had built his fortune by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. He had never encountered a force he could not buy or destroy. Until now. "What do you want?" he asked finally, his voice quiet. "Justice," said simply. "Your son will be expelled from this academy and face criminal charges for his actions. You will withdraw all legal claims against Ho, and you will make a public apology to every student your son has harassed during his time here." "And if I refuse?" Smile grew colder. "Then these files go to the Galactic Council, to your business partners, to your political allies, and to every news outlet in the sector. Your trading licenses will be revoked. Your assets will be frozen, and you will spend the rest of your life in a prison cell." The silence stretched on for a long moment. Then Trade Lord, one of the most powerful men in the galaxy, lowered his head. "I agree to your terms." The news of his downfall spread faster than any of the previous stories. The untouchable Trade Lord, brought low by a single human student. his son expelled in disgrace, his empire shaken to its foundations. But there was another story spreading too, the truth about Ho. The classified files were unsealed. The galaxy learned who he really was, a decorated veteran of the frontier wars, survivor of 12 hostile engagements, holder of the silver constellation for valor. He had fought in battles that most species could not even imagine. He had survived horrors that would have broken anyone else. And he had walked away from it all to become a student. Ho found himself famous, though he did not want to be. Students who had avoided him now wanted to talk to him. Professors who had ignored him now invited him to special lectures. He was offered interviews, book deals, military recruitment packages. He refused them all. 1 week after the tribunal, Ho sat alone in the academy's garden. It was a peaceful place, artificial plants and recycled water, designed to mimic the natural environments of a dozen worlds. He had come here often since arriving at the station. It was the closest thing to quiet he could find. Sora found him there, sitting on a bench beneath a tree that had never known real sunlight. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. He shook his head, and she sat beside him. For a while, neither of them spoke. They just watched the artificial leaves move in the artificial breeze. "Everyone's talking about you," Sora said finally. "I know. How does it feel, being famous?" Ho thought about the question. "I don't like it. I came here to be invisible, to be normal." "Is that still what you want?" He looked at her, this bright, kind woman who had befriended him when he had nothing to offer, who had stayed by his side even after seeing what he was capable of, who had held his shaking hands and told him that he had saved her. "I don't know what I want anymore," he admitted. "For 5 years, I knew exactly who I was and what I had to do. Then I tried to be someone else and I failed." "You didn't fail." Sora reached over and took his hand. "You saved me. You stopped and his gang. You showed everyone that humans aren't weak, we're just tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being seen as monsters." Ho looked down at their joined hands. Her grip was warm and steady. "Maybe that's true," he said quietly, "but it doesn't change what I am, what I did." "No, but it doesn't have to define you either." She squeezed his hand. "You're allowed to be more than your past, Ho. You're allowed to be the person who studies life instead of taking it. That can still be true." He wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that the blood on his hands could be washed away, that the screams in his dreams could fade, that he could find peace. "What happens now?" he asked. Sora smiled. "You finish your degree, you become and you try to remember that not everything in the universe is trying to kill you." He recognized his own words, spoken in the corridor what felt like a lifetime ago. For the first time in years, something in his chest loosened. Not forgiveness, not yet. Not peace, maybe never, but something smaller, something quieter. Hope. He looked up at the stars through the garden's transparent ceiling. The same stars he had fought under. The same stars he had almost died under. But now they seemed different, less like a battlefield and more like a promise. "That sounds nice," he said. And for the first time in a very long time, Ho smiled. Above them, the station continued its orbit through the endless dark. Thousands of beings went about their lives, unaware of the quiet revolution that had taken place among them. The galaxy had learned something important in recent weeks. Humans were not to be feared because they were violent. They were to be respected because they had earned their peace. Every human carried the weight of it in their bones, the gravity, the predators, the endless struggle to survive. But they also carried something else, the choice of what to do with that strength. Ho had chosen to study life, to heal instead of harm, to build instead of destroy. And in the end, that choice had proven more powerful than all the violence he had left behind. The story of the quiet student would be told for generations, not as a tale of war or revenge, but as a reminder. Earth's children were survivors, And sometimes the greatest victory was simply learning to live again. And Trade Lord was about to learn that some mistakes could not be bought off. He was about to draw the attention of everyone who had ever served alongside him. None of them knew what they were about to wake up.